Next team on the docket, the Diamondbacks.
Whoa.
They're
The
big.
Diamondbacks are
They're big. They're back. So the Diamondbacks, they added. You don't like how big? Fine, I'll change it for you. Dylan doesn't like how big it is.
It was just we
I just
weren't
wanted
ready.
to show my support for the Diamondbacks.
We just weren't ready.
I mean, shout out the Diamondbacks. First they were there above the Rockies, which felt like a dig at Rockies fans, and now then they were just huge, and it was a whole ordeal.
Dylan has no faith in the Diamondbacks.
Hey, I didn't say that yet.
He doesn't believe that they will reign above all.
Well, that's true. Sorry, Diamondbacks fans.
They added Zach Gallen, 1 year, 22.025. Paul Sewald, 1 year, 1.5 as a reliever. Carlos Santana to play first, 1 for 2. Merrill Kelly, another starter, brought him back 2 for 40. So you keep that Kelly and Gallen duo. Then you also brought in Mike Soroka, reliever, 1 for 7.5. James McCann, a catcher, 1 for 2.75. Taylor Clark, a reliever, 1 for 1.55. You traded for Nolan Arenado from the Cardinals. Cade Stroud, a reliever from Baltimore. Josh Gross, starter from Colorado. Avery Owosu-Asiedo, another outfielder from the Rockies. And then Jose Mejia, an infielder from Baltimore. So you brought in a lot of guys, some fringe guys, some we probably will never hear a mention of again. But Diamondbacks had a lot of depth issues last year. They lost Connor Kaiser, a second baseman, to the Royals. Austin Pope, a pitcher, to the Braves. Casey Kelly, a pitcher. He's still in free agency. So is Jalen Beeks. And then you traded Blaze Alexander to Baltimore. Diamondbacks went to the World Series versus the Rangers just a couple years ago. Their star was ascending, and then they kind of flatlined the last 2 years. Can the rotation built with older vets plus a Corbin Burns return from injury question mark provide stability? Or they're kind of the same team that they've been plus a superstar pitcher who's just hurt?
Yeah, it's really tough to say. Again, similar to what I said about the Rockies, the NL West is a gauntlet. So you're not getting any easy games in your division aside from the Colorado Rockies. I'm looking at their lineup here, and I got to just throw out the question because it's just ringing in my mind. Is this the best middle infield in baseball? Ketel Marte and Geraldo Perdomo.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if I was missing one in my head. But Perdomo really came along last year. If you guys watched our shortstop rankings, Corey is very high on him. Ketel Marte, I think we all had as the consensus best second baseman in baseball. So that mixed with a Corbin Carroll. I like the Carlos Santana signing, truthfully, as a vet at first base. I like the Arenado trade for a team that needs some bats to compete in this NL West. This season will be defined, like Corey mentioned, on the rotation. Can you get one good year out of Zach Gallen? Can you get Corbin Burns back and producing at an ace level? Can Brendan Pfaadt produce all year? Can you get something out of a Merrill Kelly, a Reen Nelson, and Eduardo Rodriguez, a Soroka? Like, can you get enough out of those guys to get into the playoffs? Because we've seen this team can get into the playoffs as a 6th seed and go to a World Series.
And I think that it's going to be a question because their window, at least in that rotation, isn't open for long. They're not built for sustained success with how their roster is right now, at least on the pitching staff front. And we've seen that hamper teams. Baltimore is one that we've talked about a lot. For the longest time, Toronto we spoke about as a team that had a great offense but no pitching. So where do the Diamondbacks go from here? We'll have to find out, but they need to go all in this year because if they don't, it's just going to be another wasted year. And, they're an older team, and how are they going to handle aging vets, Arenado? You have injuries like Corbin Carroll's hamate bone. They have a lot of depth issues that kept them out from contention the last couple of years when guys went down. They have a pitcher, Andrew Stalfunk, had shoulder surgery. so he's out for the year. So you have a lot of issues, guys that, Marte, you have a lot of locker room question marks. They were close to trading him this offseason. So
And
how
if
are they going
things go
to
south
handle
to open the year, could he want out?
exactly, and how is that going to affect the locker room and their ability to contend? So how do you think they handle all these different question marks that teams like the Dodgers and the Blue Jays and other contenders just don't really have to deal with from every front?
We kind of talked about this a little bit last year with the Padres, and my answer then was if your team's winning baseball games, a lot of things seem to solve themselves in terms of that department. So you have to hope, if you're a Diamondbacks fan, that the roster put together is just good enough to win more than they lose on a nightly basis. You get to the deadline, you're second in the NL West, 3 games back behind the Dodgers. You feel great. You get to the deadline, you're in fourth place, 10 to 15 games back of first place. All of a sudden, it's are we trading guys? And I think the first half of the year and how this team opens and how this pitching staff looks are going to be instrumental to the Diamondback season.
Even if the Diamondbacks are in a playoff spot come trade deadline, but not commanding their maybe the second or third wild card and not really blowing people away,
I think they'd buy.
I was
I
gonna
think
say, you
they'd
think
buy
they
expiring
yeah.
pitching deals because my assumption is if the lineup is producing. My assumption won't be if things go south for the Diamondbacks, it's at the lineup. Maybe injuries. Corbin Carroll banged up already, so
Right.
something to note there. But my assumption would be if the Diamondbacks don't make the playoffs this year, it's because too many runs were given up.